Hannah Olive, Pop Rock Radio. Estás escuchando Jamie Roxx de Pop Rock Radio. Manténganse al tanto.
Hej, det här är Hits från Sverige och ni lyssnar till Pop Rock Radio med Jamie Roxx.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Pop Roxx Radio Talk Show. I'm your host, pop art painter Jamie Roxx, and this is the big show. You found it. I sure am glad you did. Hey, quick message. They want me to say all of our advertisers, support them like you guys have been. That's awesome. The internet has trickle down economics, meaning when they make money, it trickles down and eventually we'll make money. So that's how that's supposed to work. They all also usually have a code these days. You go to their website or whatnot, and there's a code, how'd you hear about it? Just put in Jamie Roxx, the guy with the hair, the guy who hangs out with rock stars, they'll know who it is, and they'll know where to send checks. That's a good thing. It keeps the lights on around here. Food for my crazy dog. So that's a whole nother story, ladies and gentlemen. That's a whole nother story. I love her, but I could have got a mutt. Had to be a big shot. Get an expensive dog. That was dumb. But she's good. She's good. Anyway. Hey, tonight we have a fantastic band on. Our guest tonight. I was blown away. The fine folks over at Curtain Call Records sent these folks over to me to check these guys out. And they're kind of in your neck of the woods. And they're from Daytona, which is Atlantic side, but up, it's a little bit of a drive, a few hours, but, it's all good. It's all good. The name of the band is Greye, which is cool, with an E on the end of it, ladies and gentlemen. So that's very artsy. We're going to talk all about this. I love their logo, speaking of artsy, and we'll get into that. But what a fantastic band. I checked you guys out when they first sent over the press kit and whatnot, and I was like blown away. I'm like, these guys kick ass. They're insane. Very, very cool. So welcome to the show, and we'll, I guess, introduce everybody here. We'll start out with Hannah. Hannah's the lead vocalist. There
Hello.
she is.
Thanks for having us, Jamie. We're stoked.
Absolutely. And sitting right next to her with the fabulous hair, I'm always impressed with hair, is Jett. And Jett plays guitar. And no, Jett, do you just play guitar in general, or is it, because some bands are like, no, I'm lead guitar, no, I'm rhythm guitar, no, I play guitar in the dark room. Are you the guitarist of all stripes?
Yeah. Well, I'm first and foremost the resident bedroom guitar player.
Yeah.
And then we only have one guitar player in the band, so when you have just one guitar player, you kind of end up doing everything.
I got you.
Most of it's pretty rhythmic, though. Even the solos when you're in a more of a three-piece instrument is like the solos are a little more rhythmic. So I guess more rhythmic. I guess the guitar player.
That's awesome. Down below Jett, we've got a bass player extraordinaire, Tommy. Tommy, how's it going, man?
Good, Jamie Roxx. Thanks for having us here, man.
Absolutely.
Looking
And then
forward.
next to him, to the left, is Ray, the drummer of the band. Keeps the beat happening, baby.
Oh, yeah. Out back. The out of focus guy, if you would.
Oh, it'll fix itself. See? There you go. Ray, one of the interesting things, I grew up in Metro Detroit, and I hung out with musicians growing up. They knew the most girls. They had the best parties. I was the only painter around, so I wasn't hanging out with any other painter. Nobody was doing that shit. But musicians were cool. The interesting thing, and I learned a lot from hanging out with musicians. One of the interesting things about drummers, now I don't know if this is the case with you or if it has been in your drumming career, is every drummer I met all were in like 87 bands because there was just not enough drummers. And when somebody went on tour, it kind of was involved because 87 bands were like, hey, wait, we're going on tour too, and
yeah,
has things changed since then, or the drummers still?
And I'm from just north of Boston, and
okay,
there used to always be it depended on the time period. There would be no keyboard players, or there would be no bass players, or there'd be no drummers. There was always guitar players. Everybody played guitar, and for when I was in bands, I was always only in one band, and then I did studio stuff. For the most part, I only did one band. Like with Greye, I've only been in Greye. I don't do any side gigs or anything
Nice.
like that. No, for the
Nice.
last 13
Well,
years.
that's smart.
Yeah.
So north of Boston, I went to college in Boston. I lived in the fine town of Dorchester, Mass.
I
And
spent a lot of time in Dorchester.
yeah, well, I didn't know any better. Like I said, I moved from Detroit, and
What school did you go to?
I went to UMass for undergrad, and then museum school for my later stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, lived there a long time. After that, I moved out to San Diego. I said, I need the exact opposite of Boston. What it was is somebody stole my chair. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, what happens, Hannah, in Boston when it snows a lot? You shovel out your spot in front of your triple decker, and then you put a folding chair there. And it is Jesse James fighting word if somebody messes with that chair. And somebody stole mine.
Oh my God.
And I said, okay, I've had enough. I'm done with school. I need to move somewhere cheaper. So I picked San Diego, which was not cheaper at all.
No, not at all.
And, but at Christmas time, you'd see people hanging Christmas lights and flip-flops. It was kind of nice, I got to say. Boring town. Not like Boston.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you, Jett, when I was growing up and I knew all these musicians, everybody wanted to be a guitar player. Everybody wanted to be Randy Rhoads or Eddie Van Halen. I remember I had a bunch of friends of mine and they said, hey, we're going to start a band. And I'm like, guys, number one, there's 12 of you. That's more of an orchestra. And number two, somebody's going to have to learn to play you all play guitar. That you can't, you need a drum. You need and have you always been a guitarist? Did you know when you were a young lad that rock star was the trajectory?
I definitely, I always gravitated to it. Yeah. So my dad is a guitar player.
Oh, okay.
And so he played a lot, and I picked it up for a little bit here and there, and then I guess around like 2003, and I like really started to think, oh, you know what? I've actually played enough that I'm not so bad. and then
that's
I
always
kind
a
of
good feeling.
I don't suck.
I can make a living at this shit. Wow.
Because it's as anybody who plays or it really does anything, you don't really know that you're good at it until basically somebody affirms it, because it's
absolutely.
And
then that could be the kiss of death, because I'm telling you, in my life, I'll never forget it. I hung out with my friends. We were hanging out at Denny's late at night, and we're all sitting there eating nachos, drinking coffee, shooting the shit. And because we all rented rooms, so nobody had an apartment out of my friend group there where we could all go hang out, because there was always some old lady we were renting a room from, and it was her place. She didn't want a bunch of us weirdos in there, so we went to Denny's. And we'd go. I went to Denny's so often. I walk in and they'd give me my messages. People would leave phone messages for me at the Denny's. I didn't work there. I just hung out a lot.
Wow.
But anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm sketching. I'm drawing, because that's kind of what I've always done. And I'm doing this, and some guy with this gal, and they walked up and they said, "I like that. I'll give you $100 cash right now for it." And the light bulb went. But that's a very quaint story, folks. But you have to understand, I could have went to college and became a lawyer, a doctor, owned an infinity pool now or something. But because that happened, I was hyper focused on art then, and I couldn't get away from it. I was hooked. It's almost like a drug dealer giving you drugs or something, because you're like, that's all I want. That's all I could think about after that.
Right.
And that's still the case today. But it focused my options, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. For me, I tend to tell myself it's a good thing. But it sounds like you had a similar experience. You had a moment of illumination, if you will, where you're like, I'm good at this guitar shit, man. I'm gonna do this,
Yeah, I did. I felt like that, and again, I don't ever think I'm a exceptional guitar player or a great guitar player. I think I'm about on par with most everybody. But it was that.
Well, sounds pretty good to me from what I heard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was that, and then the band came together, and then we started to play together all the time. Practice, practice, practice. Play, play, play. And then that made me realize, okay, what I'm doing now is the next step. This is I'm definitely a bit more rounded and more musically versed if we can play as a band like this. And usually I don't miss a beat. Usually the band plays the same. We try to deliver the same level of show every time, and that takes a lot of discipline, and that it's like you said, it's one of those things where it makes you realize, okay, maybe I am a little bit better than I used to think, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mentor some kids in the art world, and it's one of the things I tell them. I'm like, I said, I know you guys have all watched The Voice and all these competition bake-off shows and shit, and you think there's a quick, easy shortcut. That's not true. Every successful person I know, no matter what they're doing, practices, works their ass off. And you never get to a point where you stop practicing. That's the thing. And they're like, well, I want to paint like you do and go to cool parties and not have to have a day job. That's the big motivating factor. And I said, well, I've been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah.
4 hours, sometime today. I started a painting this morning at 9 o'clock, and I'm about 80% done with it. But it'll be a couple hours after we're finished up here. Yeah. And I know today's Friday, but that's a Tuesday. That's just a normal day.
Yeah.
Because, I got a nice wife who likes shoes. You know what I mean? And I'm a fat guy. I like to eat. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just, no matter what you do, is what I'm saying, kids out there, whether you're painting or music, you're baking bread, whatever, if you do it consistently over and over and over, you're going to get better, good at that shit, No, I'm not saying go rob banks or something, but if you are going to go rob a bank, rob a lot of them. Get good at it.
Yeah. And discipline when robbing the bank.
Don't rob any banks, ladies and gentlemen. You get a call from the cops. Yeah, little Joe here said you're to blame. I don't know little Joe. Hannah, let me ask you this.
Thank you.
So you hang out with Jett. You know his secrets and
a
shit.
fair bit. Yeah.
Every guitar player I've ever known in my life has this one thing in common. In a closet somewhere, in the basement, well, it's Florida, so we don't have basements, but in a closet somewhere, a shed perhaps, trunk of a car.
You find your dog?
Is a milk crate full of broken guitar guitar amp cords and stuff that they were expensive to buy, and he's going to have them repaired someday at some point. They never do it. They just keep them forever, and it's a giant pile. Does Jett have that?
No.
A whole drawer.
No, this is what sets me apart from guitar players. The other ones is that I take really good care of all my stuff, and all of my stuff works.
Okay, so
that's cool.
Ray has the rest of the 3,000 of them hanging.
Yeah.
No, I don't. You repaired the ones that needed repaired, Ray, because you're the man. But I got him. That rolling cable is right over there.
I was going to say, at one point there was a bag. And I always knew, like, if ever there was, like, a misc thing that I needed, music related, I knew it was in that bag. But I can't find the bag, so you're just perfect, and I don't know what to say about it.
I take care of my stuff.
Such a burden. Yeah.
It's just part of it. It's part of it. My first ex-wife, I had a little stint where I was hosting nightclubs for a while. This was in San Diego, and I knew there was going to be trouble. If you're married, you really shouldn't be hanging out in nightclubs, even if you own the place. Hire a manager. You don't want to be doing that because it's just going to lead to trouble. It's my advice. But I knew I wasn't. This was the trouble I wasn't expecting. I came home. She was mad. Her legs were crossed. The one leg was just bouncing and bouncing. I could see it in her eyes. She was annoyed with me. I said, What happened? She goes, I'm sick of amplifiers in the living room. That's what's happening. Get them out of here. Go get a storage place. I don't care. I'm tripping over these amplifiers. And I'm like,
Right.
we got to have more, I got a storage place. But let me ask you, Tommy, when you started, did you start out with bass?
Yes, I did. Yes, I'm an original bass player.
No.
That's all I ever wanted to do, bass. And we were just talking about this last night with Dean Vaughn. Yeah, man. As soon as I saw those big 8x10 Ampeg cabinets, I was just like, "Yep, that's what I want to do. That's for me."
I remember I must have been, I don't know, I was probably 14, something like that, and there was a gal at my high school that I thought was just dynamite on a Saturday night. Blonde hair, long legs, the whole package. And I liked music, but at that time in my life, I hadn't really developed a passion for music yet. But she had a passion for the band Duran Duran. She wanted to go to the Duran Duran concert.
Girls on film.
I bought tickets. I took her to see Duran Duran. And that was great. And that was wonderful. But during the show, and I didn't know much about Duran Duran at the time, but their bass player, they're putting on the show. I'm there there's 15,000 girls and me, at this show. And their bass player, he went up to the foot of the lip of the stage, I guess they call it, and he was pumping the crowd up. And he put his hand to his ear. I can't hear you, one of those things that bands used to do. Maybe still do sometimes. And I saw, it was like those videos you saw of the girls with the Beatles. These 15,000 girls went insane. And so I was like John Belushi in The Church in the Blues Brothers movie, like a beam of light came down on me. And I'm like, I got to get a fucking bass, man. This has to happen. So long story short, I get home. My dad's still up. He's like, how was the show? Did you have a good time? I'm like, yeah, Rhonda was great. And he goes, well, how was the band? Did you enjoy and so I said, oh, you wouldn't believe what I saw. So I tell him the bass story, and I said, I got to get a bass. That has to happen. The motorcycle can go on hold for a couple years. I need the bass first,
Right.
And my father just sighed. He looked down. I'll never forget it. And he said, boy, we have a grand piano in the living room, a very expensive grand piano that I've never seen you sit at, pluck anything on, you know what I mean? I've never seen any type of musical interest in you.
Right.
He goes, I get what you're saying about this bass player and this rock band. He goes, but the reason those girls did that, and I didn't even think that the guy had jet hair, or looked like a model or something. But my father told me, he goes, because he's good at what he's supposed to be doing. He goes, I've never seen you do anything musically. You're pretty good at drawing. So maybe you focus on that.
Yeah.
And if you get good at it, you'll have the same result. I guarantee
Right.
it. Fast forward a couple years, I'm at college in Boston, hanging out in Ray's neck of the woods. Me and my friends are all hanging out at a bar.
At the Rat?
A bunch of weirdo art students. And there's a group of ballerinas from the performance side of the school hanging out in the bar too. Not really hanging out, but they're just there, ballerinas are like birds. They always travel in flocks, at least in school. But I took notice, like a leopard at a watering hole. I was paying attention. And so I grabbed a cocktail napkin and I started sketching and drawing one. It took about 3 minutes, and the flock was over at our table. What are you doing? And I got to tell you, the old man knew what he was talking about. It worked. They were very impressed. And
They flocked.
yeah, they flocked. It was a good thing. So I've always had a respect for bass players, something I didn't do, but man, I get it. How about you, Ray? Were you always a drummer growing up and stuff?
Yep, I always was a drummer. I remember how it started too. I was watching the Partridge Family, and I wanted to be that drummer. And I went and told my mother, I said, I want to take drum lessons. She said, okay. I was like in the third grade. And I remember when I was taking drum lessons, my drum teacher said he's not playing what I gave him because it was boring. You know, it was you reading a book. So she used to put me in the basement and she'd start the timer on the stove. And she said, "You're not coming up until 30 minutes is up." She goes, "I'm not paying." I remember she goes, "I'm not paying that $3 a week for lessons if you're not going to play what he said." Yeah, no. So I was always a drummer. It's funny. I left Boston, well, New England, anyways, and I ended up I'm in the Navy, and I get stationed, ironically, in San Diego.
Okay.
And I played drums at a strip bar in right on Broadway. It was called the Showplace.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, yep, right up. Yep, right there in San Diego because I was
That's
stationed. I lived on Rosecrans.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Ray, let me ask you. Now,
yeah.
I lived in San Diego for about 10 years, so of course I knew some Navy guys. I had some Navy friends.
Yeah.
Every Navy guy I knew had this amazing superpower I've never seen anyone else have. You could
Well, I have
mention
it. I
any.
still have it. Yeah.
You probably. I'm curious to see if you've heard this or know of this
No, I
ability.
don't have no.
You can ask at least the people I knew. You could name any city on the planet, and automatically they could tell you the girl to guy
Arm.
ratio
Yeah.
just
They
off
give
the
you
top, like they had it all memorized. You're like
yeah.
Sydney, Australia, and they're like,
Oh yeah, 12 to 1. Yeah, Australia was like that, and that used to be one of the places everybody wanted to get stationed because it was 12 women to every 1 man. Yeah, yeah. Sydney 12 to 1, Australia,
there you go, there you go.
along
Hannah,
with
let
Holy
me
City,
ask.
in the Philippines.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
no, you don't need that. Didn't go. Yeah,
I wanted to ask Hannah how she got into singing and vocals, and because she always you are intense in your music videos, and we're gonna play some music here in a second. I mean, just super intense. Yeah, and you're set of pipes on you, girl. You're really, really good. Did you know when you were a young lass that singing was in your future there?
I knew that I liked doing it so much that everyone I went to like grade school with would constantly have to tell me to shut up because I was just singing all the time.
Little songbird.
Which was horribly annoying, and I apologize to all of them.
Look where it led you, though.
I mean, listen, I did something with it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was a church choir lady. I grew up in like Catholic light school, basically, so I went to church like 3 times a week and always sang in church. And the band director at my grade school told me one day, he's like, "You know, you're singing harmonies, right, and not the melody." And I was like, What are those? And from there, I don't know, I just never quit. I fell in love with Broadway, and then I met these guys, and they, thank God, showed me what I resisted learning from my parents. My parents actually have pretty okay music taste, but you never want to learn from your parents. So.
Oh, no.
But yeah, no, thank God these guys showed me all the prog rock stuff, and I've just always been hooked.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. And one of the things I really like about being the age I am, because I'm an old man now. I don't know how it happened. Last month, I wasn't an old man, and suddenly must have been a time portal or something I fell
What
into.
the heck?
Here I am. But it's one of those weird things. I don't feel, I don't have that internal feeling of being old, but except in the morning when I wake up. Then I'm like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. Oil can. But one of the things I like about my age is knowledge of music. And, you see, I, I experienced really good musicianship. You know what I mean? And you take in all kinds of genres. I can listen to metal music, and I can see it, I can hear it, I should say. If Beethoven were alive today, he'd be a metal guy. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be a trance DJ. Mozart, maybe. Old Ludwig would be. There would be people headbanging, and you. And I'm not, folks. Don't worry. I'm not being that tropey of an old man where I'm like, oh, the music today sucks, because I don't think it does. But I like having comparison. The weird thing with me and what I love about your guys' band, I'm at the age now where I crave something new, something fresh. I'm like, I've seen that trend 6 times now. I'm ready for something new.
Right.
And your guys is, because I saw the tagline on your website. It's like, Southern rock. I think it said new Southern rock, and that intrigued me. For some reason, or maybe I just put the new in there when I read it. But I'm like, man, I got to check this out. I got to check it. And sure enough, it's fresh. It's cool, and it just rocks. I mean, and I think that is so cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, you guys are in a cool area too, Daytona. There's a lot of parties up there. How is the scene? Have you guys had any? I was talking to a band last night from South Carolina, and they're like, "Yeah, there's no rock clubs here. We got to drive 2 hours or an hour or whatever, however long it was to get to Atlanta or Charlotte." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I get it. You got to go where your market is." I imagine Daytona is rocking though, because they had the big bike week up there. There's a reason bless you, that they have all that shit. There's probably got to be a good scene where you guys are at, right?
Well, we just did it.
Yes and no. The bike events are great. I like best time of year, hands down, for all of the musical people in town. It's so great. Especially this year. We've played that event for like almost a decade now, and this was the best year since we started. I think just so many people who came for the music, for original music, and stayed for original bands. Was awesome. The rest of the year, it's a little hit or miss.
I gotcha.
There's some really cool rooms like in Orlando and over on the other coast, and there are some decent rooms here too. But it's I feel like it's starting to recool itself again.
I gotcha.
Daytona is forever stuck in a time warp. It's forever 1968 here. And it's the weirdest thing when you play in a band here, they're not ready for original music as much as you think they would be. And when we came out, we were this hybrid band. We were original band, but you've got to do covers that you simply won't work. And so we'll do a 60-40 show. But Daytona's there's a million rooms to play. It's got more rooms than there needs to be. There's probably 70 rooms to play here. And you've only got a town. This whole greater area is only about 300,000. So at any given time, if you get, 10,000 people that are going out, you're only going to have, 40 or 50 people in a club because it's so thin, except for the event weeks. We have the 500 and, and the 400. Other than that, no, it's a weird town. There's nothing. It's stuck in its ways. That's what was so cool about, I think, this week's Bike Week. Hannah and I were talking about this, that there was a lot of original bands. There was 70 original bands on the stage we played. Which
were good. They were
and they were really good. They were from all over the country, and it was refreshing. And you could see the crowd, they didn't know how to accept it because they wanted the same sleaze shit that they always get every year. And then you saw it evolve, and people were accepting of that. So I thought that was pretty cool. But it's definitely not it's a town stuck in its own thing. It really is.
Yeah.
The cool thing about rock. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Just backing up what Ray was saying. I mean, they were really flocked into that last show that we did with Rock Rage. They put on a great stage. It was huge. The lighting was excellent. Guys, they did well. Gathering all the people in, and it was kicking.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic. One of the things I've noticed about rock. And I'm into all kinds of stuff. I've been to all kinds of shows, and I'm an old guy. But one of the things I really like, and I'm jealous of rock musicians, because I've never seen this at a gallery or a museum. Nobody goes to a gallery. This has never happened in an art gallery. Well, I can't say that, but maybe I'm pretty sure it hasn't. When I go to a good rock show, and it doesn't always happen. I've been to rock shows with really what I have that I think are a really good band, and you go see them and you're like, Jesus Christ, this was an off night. It had to be, I hope, because this was not what I was expecting. I should have stayed home. But I've seen this happen a few times where the band builds, and this will sound really California and New Agey, and I apologize to you. I'm not, that ain't me, but it's the only way I can describe it. The band will build up this energy, and it rises, and you can almost touch it, you can feel it, and it throws out onto the crowd, and it doesn't disperse. The crowd just says, thank you, and then they build it even more and throw it back to the band, and you have this tennis match, this ping pong of energy build up, and it's amazing. I've never seen that in any other genre. Maybe a trance festival or something. But no, Roxx. I've seen it more than any other genre. I've never seen that like in an R&B show or something. It just doesn't happen. And I think that's cool. And with Hannah's intensity, we were watching. What was I watching? I was watching. Where's my notes? Where's my notes, everybody? Yeah, Down Not Out. I was watching the first video I watched was Down Not Out, and I'm seeing her sing that intense. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I would love to see this band live. That was my first thought. I hadn't had that thought in a long time, and I think that's cool. I can't be the only person who sees that video or what hears the track and thinks that.
Yeah, she's even better live. You got to come and see us, man.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. It's live shows are cool, man. I like, and I hear a lot of people bitch out there that I meet about their local scene. You want to make your local scene better? Start supporting bands. Start going to the scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Don't tell me it's too expensive. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. I know I've made the joke before, even out here on the show, that when I go, I don't go. I spent 2.5 decades going to nightclubs. I was in nightclubs every night. But the reason I is that was where the people buying my art were hanging out. And so I was making friends, and, I was there working. But the thing is, and I've made this joke where I'm like, yeah, it's real expensive for me to go out because I have to get a VIP table, and everybody's like, oh, to be a big shot? I'm like, no, I'm an old fat man. I want somewhere to sit. That's where, and you got to pay if you want to sit in a club.
Right.
It ain't cheap. Bottle service ain't cheap.
Right.
I've been out before, folks, and gotten bottle service and not even drank the drinks. They really made their money with me that night. But you guys you seem like you'd be a really cool band live. You just got that live energy and whatnot. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me to hear that you've got and whatnot. 75 bands at one venue?
Yep.
Jesus Christ,
Across
that's
10
a lot.
days.
Imagine organizing that. Holy moly.
Yeah.
And they did a great job. Really, we can't say enough good about everything that they put together. It was freaking awesome.
That's cool.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
Daytona, that's the bike week stuff. They're famous for that, of course. But you guys also got the Speedway and all that. I mean, there's always something going on in Daytona, If I were just coming to Florida, I would probably move to that neck of the woods, to be honest with you, because it just seems like there's something happening, Miami's cool, but it you got the crime aspect to it, and that gunplay will always ruin any good time. I don't care where you're at.
Right. Where are you at, Jamie?
I'm in Deerfield Beach. I'm close enough to Miami. I can get down there for work and stuff.
Right.
But I'm a little sleepy beach town.
I got you.
Everybody knows me. It's one of those deals.
Okay.
And
That's cool.
yeah, and my wife is from here. She grew up. My in-laws live like 3 blocks down the road, and she grew up here. And Florida gal, That means she grew up worshiping at the Temple of Disney. We go to Disney like 2 times a year. We go so much. If we go to Animal Kingdom, the animals they're like, there he is. He's back again.
Wow.
I don't know. When COVID happened and that we were there when they announced they were closing the park, and I remember everybody's phone. It was like a movie. Everybody's phone went off at the same time. and they're all. I don't use a phone. My wife's got a phone, so I don't need one. It's just an expense that I set things down and forget them.
Right.
Phones are expensive.
We were on
Anyway,
stage.
we were at one of those. I don't know what you call it. It's Japanese, and you'd sit with a bunch of people, and the guy comes out and cuts shit up and makes a volcano out of onion rings and stuff.
Like a hibachi.
Hibachi.
Yeah, so we're all sitting there,
Like
and
short-
everybody's phone rang at the same time. I thought I was in a Twilight Zone. I'm like, and then they're looking at it, and you could see the color drain out of everybody's face.
Right.
I'm like, what the? Do we need to climb under this table? Are the missiles flying? What's happening? And my wife's like, they're closing the park. And I'm like, wait, Disney's walking away from $35 hamburgers?
Right.
This is serious. We got to get the hell out of here.
Right.
And everybody else had the same thought. And so
we were on stage, and
Jesus,
we were on stage, and everybody said, "Well, everything's closed tomorrow." That was awesome. Then we said, "No, we don't have to go to work."
Right.
Then we
Yeah. Yeah, that was we were in DeLand.
Yeah, it
I
was
felt
March
bad for all the
13th.
venues, though, because, even though there was no money coming in, the coolers were still running. The electric was still going,
Yeah.
We were only down for about a month. We played the whole time.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
we were lucky. In Daytona, they were open. We played the whole time. Like,
We did some
another
online
album
stuff,
out.
which was cool too. So we did both of that.
Yeah, we had put another record out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I have a bunch of stand-up friends that were trying to, because stand-up, I was going to say guys, but guys and girls, we can't forget about the girls out there working hard.
Hello.
They try stuff. That's how they hone that. They'll write a bunch of jokes, and then they go try them out on crowds, and they're like, wow, that's shit. That doesn't work. That works great. That killed. We're keeping that.
Yeah.
And that's how that works. And they were trying to do that on like Facebook live streams where you can't see the crowd, you can't see the people, so you're not getting that input. And yeah, it was tough on them. It was tough on them.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we all got through it. And it was, for me, everybody was asking, they're like, are you okay? I'm like, dude, I work from home. I worked from home for 20 years. This is a Tuesday to me. It ain't nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I said that, and then the universe went, oh, yeah? Here's your wife home now 24/7 with you. And that was tough. That was tough. And I actually had to sit down. We had to have a conversation, like one of those. And I'm like, dear, if the door to the studio, I felt like, what I felt like? I felt like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Remember when he's typing and his wife kept coming in and bugging him?
Right.
Like, we need a new rule.
Oh my
And the
god.
door is closing. They're closed. I'm working. But yeah, it was, what a weird time. What a weird thing to experience in life. I never saw
Yeah.
it.
Very weird.
All work and no play makes Jamie
Oh,
a
yeah.
boy.
Yeah. Tick, 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 tick.
I remember as a kid, when the internet first started happening and like the rise of Amazon, I was so sure somebody had written that as a book. I wanted to find that real bad and just put it on my coffee table to freak people out. Like when they come, oh, what's this? Or put it in the bathroom or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like I casually reading it. Nobody. There's $1 million idea for somebody out there. Print that shit up, and I'm sure I can't be the only weirdo that would buy it. So let's play a track. We've got 3 we're going to play tonight. I keep reaching over here because I normally write.
Sounds good.
Here's a tip, kids. When you get to be my age, buy these at the dollar store and carry them everywhere so you can. You don't have a phone. Everybody's like, Jamie, we do that with our phone, you freako. No, we've got Down Not Out, which we were talking about, Famous Last Words, and Hold My Own. What should we hit people with first?
Let's do Hold My Own. Can we do that tonight?
Yeah.
Hold My Own is the opener of the record anyway. So
Awesome. Yeah. Well, here it is, folks. This is Greye, Hold My Own. Check this out.
Has run it dry. The field is barren. The rainy season has
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Hold My Own by Greye. Very, very cool track. How did Hold My Own kind of come together, guys?
Was that a you lick or a...
So, yeah, that was that lead-in lick. We came up with that. And then it just kind of expanded on that.
And the song went through like 3 different drafts of lyrics.
Yeah.
The first 2 sucked. They were horrible.
I gotta get the charger.
Yeah, no problem. So thank God we don't have to experience those, but a good buddy of ours was very helpful to me and like sat me down one day because he knew I was struggling with it and was like, this is how the melody has to go. And he just like, that, like note bashed it out for me and I was able to fix it. And now it's all there. So.
Let me plug it in. Let me know that it charges.
Sorry, we're charging.
Oops.
You guys, are you doing this on your phone?
No, it was full charge. But yeah, it was kind of the same process that a lot of the things that we do happens where somebody comes up with like a small lick, like a concept, and then organically we just play together and we start to structure it. And even if Hannah doesn't necessarily have like the exact melody or the exact lyrics, the band starts to organize it and say, hey, this sounds like a verse. This sounds like a chorus. And then we start to build it in our own kind of formula.
That's awesome. That is very cool, you know.
What really happens is they'll come in with the lick and we'll do that and then we'll run it like 100 times.
And then I make them run
Hannah will sit in front of us and we'll say, Can you try something, Hannah? She says, No.
Absolutely.
And we have played it 100 fucking times and it's like, I don't have anything right now. An hour later.
Tommy's fingers are falling off. No, I get it. You have to. Sometimes you got to let something marinate. Like I shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to. Another reason I have these. I have shoe boxes full of these, and there'll be a song lyric or something. I'll come up with some title for a painting, and I don't paint the painting based on that. I usually just paint the painting. And then me and my wife's like, yeah, it's ready let's post it. And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to call this thing? Let me grab a shoebox and I'll go, that fits. There we go. Yeah, so you can move on with your day. You got to title the file to download the pictures into. That's the big motivating factor. But no, I get it. And sometimes I just had this experience before we did the show tonight. I'm working on a commission right now for this guy, and that's cool. It's cool. It's of his wife, and I was being artsy. I'm like, I'm going to do more realism instead of pop art on this, and just make it kind of blow his mind a little bit, just make it look like an oil painting kind of. I did that and sent him the pic. I'm like, I think this is about 90% ready to go. Here's where we're at. And he goes, oh, that looks great. He goes, I can't wait till you add all the pop art colors and everything in there. Because when do you think it'll be finished? And I'm like, well, this weekend it'll be finished. You and I are thinking the same. We're on the same wavelength. And so I'll be adding that shit. Not a big deal.
Right.
But I'm glad he gave me a cue. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, we got to change this. You guys, let me ask you. Well, you know what? Let's play another track. Because then I have a musical question for you guys. We've got Famous Last Words and Hold My Own. What should we go with next? Or no, we did Hold My Own. What am I saying? What am I saying? Down, Not Out and Famous Last Words.
We should roll Down, Not Out.
Okay. Here it is, everybody. This is Greye. Fantastic band. I love them. This is Down, Not Out. This is the first track I heard by them, and it blew me away. Here it is.
Well, I hate to break this to you. Nothing here is free. Everything we do, we earn. Everyone plays for keeps. Well, I hate to break this to you, though I've had my doubts. I may be down, but I'm not out. I'll pray around your bed, lead you from this life to the next. But I can't get myself out of this town. Well, I'm not done playing yet. Go ahead and place your bets. I may be down, but I'm not. I'll pray around your bed, lead you from this life to the next. But I can't get myself out of this town. Well, I'm not done playing yet. Go ahead and place your bets. I may be down, but I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. That was Down, Not Out. And remember, we've got links to the actual videos. I made a whole video the other day about that. It's on my blog. I mean, Google did an update, and things got wonky with our software. So that's how we have to do it for the next week or so. I was told, I was informed, nerds are working very hard on this project. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. My blood pressure was up when it first happened, but it's good now. Anyhow, Down Not Out. This is a great track.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me ask you guys this. In my world with my paintings, everybody assumes I roll out of bed on a Tuesday morning or whatever and just knock out a knock one out. I don't use the word masterpiece. I don't think I've painted one yet, but a good painting, they say, you just did this today.
Right.
Because they see the finished product. They don't see me fighting with the thing, wanting to throw the canvas in the street and jump up and down on it. That doesn't happen sometimes I do roll out of bed and everything goes great. And I celebrate that because it's so rare. With you guys, with musicians in general, I should say, my musician friends, it's the same thing. I'm hearing the finished, polished, perfect track, and I hear that and I'm going, wow, they just all rolled out of bed, went to the studio and knocked out Down Not Out. Maybe you did, because we can't tell because I'm not there,
Right.
Did it fight? Was this one that fought a little bit or did it come easy? Because it sounds perfect to me.
I remember this one being fairly straightforward because I think for most of the record I was really like in the spirit of what we were writing about. There's the whole through line of the album, the 7th album, which is called 7, very appropriate, is just, I guess, it potentially being our last album because you don't ever really know when your last work is going to be.
Okay. Down. I was worried for a second when you said that, Hannah. I got to be honest with you.
No, definitely not.
Ulcers were starting to act up for a second. Because I just found this fantastic band. I want to hear more.
Right.
No, you won't be getting rid of us that easily.
Right.
Good.
But no, so I don't know. I guess I just felt very connected to the message of the song. So it was. I can't speak for you or for any of you guys, but for me, I remember this one feeling pretty easy.
Ray, how do you feel when have you come? I mean, I'm sure you've experienced when something doesn't work and you got to fix it.
Oh yeah, no, this happened. What really happens with these songs is we'll come in, Jett will come in with a lick, Hannah will come in with a lick because she plays guitar also, and they present it and we'll jam it, and Tommy, and we'll just jam for a while. And there are no lyrics. There's no title. There's no lyrics. There's no structure. And we say, okay, well, this is going to be the A section, the B section, the bridge, and we're going to do this. And we always know how long they've got to be. So we sort of package them all for Hannah. And then Hannah takes we record it, and then Hannah takes the music home, and then we never hear it again for weeks sometimes. No word of a lie. So
until they're like, Hannah, we have studio time booked. You have to finish the song.
In there.
Or she'll come into the rehearsal and we'll hear it for the first time, and it sort of fucks me up because you get used to hearing the song just musically. So you know where all the changes are. This and now Hannah's going to throw these melodies. She has a melody for it, so it's a little different. Oh, sometimes things don't work, and we've had spirited discussions
Very spiritual.
throughout the decade of when they didn't work. But for the most part, the process that we get, and we've all played so many shows together. We've probably done 1,000 shows, and we've been in the studio so much, and we're good at. And I own the studio, so we all get used to the process. So it's pretty much a machine. It's sort of like when Rush went into the studio, and Hannah's like our Neil Peart. She's the absolute lyricist of the band, and that's it. She is the magic of all of this. And many times I've sat there playing, I'm thinking, my God, I'm so glad I'm in this band. I'm so thankful that I'm in this band. And you catch yourself saying, fuck, how did this happen? For all the years of playing in shitty bands.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I would say that's a good goal. Any youngsters out there or new people in a new band, shoot for that, man. Shoot for having that experience where you're looking around going, holy shit, I won the lottery. That's fantastic.
I did it a number of times.
Fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, I also am a huge Rush fan. Yeah. And it's so cool because you guys all get along. I just, during the pandemic, I watched this documentary about the Police and their epic fist fights and shit that they would have,
Yeah.
I remember Sting came in one time with a baseball bat and because he was sick of Stuart Copeland's hi-hats and
They were always at
went to work on his kit,
He's twice the musician. He was twice the musician that Sting would ever be.
Yeah, and and the thing is you guys are making millions of dollars. Pull it together, man. Pull it together.
Right.
That was probably what the guitar player was saying,
Copeland's the best.
Andy Summer, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably saying, I want an infinity pool, I want Are you
we
kidding
keep
me?
coming back around to the infinity pool, man. It seems like we gotta make that happen for you.
Right.
Yeah, it's money will do that, money. I was just talking, I was at a party last weekend and the band Journey came up and I'm like, they were such a good band, but fuck, even Hall & Oates are fighting now. You know what I mean? It's like, Jesus Christ, guys. Get it together. But you know what? Keep fighting because you know who's going to take your spot? Greye. You're going to put Greye in there instead, and you guys can sit home and send angry texts to each other.
We're pretty much
there's new blood,
and it's
and there always will be. That's the thing. What do you guys think about the current music business, the current scene? Is it with streaming and all that? I know I've said this so many times. If this was any other business and people knew what the pie cut is, the people would be in jail, because it's robbery.
There would be riots in the streets.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna tell on the show what it is. Everybody's got Google at home. If you really want to be pissed off and sad, look it up.
How it works, because we were under CSAC. We were a CSAC band, and then we were a BMI band. No, I guess BMI first, then CSAC. Now we've been ASCAP for about, 8 or 9 years now. And it's the same cut for everybody. The publisher gets half, ASCAP gets half, we get half of the half of the half, and then we split it 5 ways.
I have some friends that are in bands out on the West Coast, and they started, I just heard about this, I don't know, in the last 6 months, where some venues are charging merch fees for their merch. They're wanting a cut of the merch tables, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?
Right.
That's not cool at all.
Right.
Where you have to pay to even be on the stage to be.
Yeah, that happens a lot in LA. They're like, okay, here's 200 tickets you're responsible for. You better sell them. Like the band doesn't have enough going on because, they're trying to play these venues and create new stuff and do all this shit, market themselves.
Yeah.
Why are you making it harder? The coolest place I've ever been that I've ever seen, I lived in Las Vegas briefly, a whole 6 months.
Right.
And how they did it in Vegas, the venues I knew, is they would run it, because Vegas is a weird town because it's 24 hours, and nobody charges a cover because you're competing against every giant casino. you
Right.
know.
Right.
So what they would do is at the beginning of the let's say your band's playing from 2 in the morning till 4 or some shit, you know, and we'd all get up and go to the venue to watch our favorite band. And what they would do is they'd run a Z tape at the beginning at 2:00 and say, okay, here's where we're at bar wise. And then they'd run another one at 4 and say, you guys get X amount of percentage of this, you know. That's how they did it. And I'm like, okay, well, given those circumstances, that seems more fair than normal, you know. But I've never seen that any other place than Las Vegas. Sorry, babe, I forgot to close that.
St. Augustine was like that.
Really?
We got a
We
basic.
got like a flat fee, right?
We got a flat fee, and then we got a percentage when the bar went over X.
That's
So
awesome.
that was the best, yeah.
Yeah. Remind Hannah, that's just another job for you. Remind everybody that Jaeger's on special right now, you know?
This band doesn't drink on stage either.
I don't.
Wow.
I don't drink. I drink when I'm at a social event or something, perhaps. I'm not a big drinker in these days. I'm to that age where I finally learned of repercussions. I look at a drink and imagine what the next morning's going to feel like. So I keep my drinking to a minute. That wasn't always the case. I was a pretty big drinker back in the day. But people were surprised to find out, when I'm working, no, man, I don't have time for that nonsense. It's not going to happen. And partying other ways, you know, I learned a long time ago. That's just waste money and more importantly, waste time. It wastes time. Yeah, you feel great and you're going to do a lot of shit. You think you are. You ain't doing shit. You know, that's how that goes. Just my advice. I'm not telling anybody out there what to do. I'm just saying, be smart. Your time is limited on the planet here. Use that limited time effectively as you can, you know?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like what we were talking about in the beginning, too. You know, it's that level of passion and that level of discipline. If you can't, no matter how much you love something, if you can't lock it down and actually do it, like play or paint or draw or, I mean, anything at all, if you don't have the discipline, you know, the love for it, it doesn't, you know, translate.
You're absolutely right. You know, and I've seen bands, man. I don't want to say I don't want to put anybody down, but I've seen bands that I really liked, and I went and saw them play. Drummer was one show I'm thinking in particular was so messed up that he fell over, knocked half of his kit over. So we all had to sit there for 30 minutes while a bunch of guys came out and reassembled it, you know. And I'm like, you know, I did 4 shifts overtime this week to be able to take this gal out, and glad I did that for this, you know. I was kind of annoyed.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I felt disrespected as an audience member.
Yeah.
You know. But I like going to see a good band. You guys are good. And you seem to get along. So that's fantastic. Next track we're going to play. This is, we've got Famous Last Words. How about that? The last track of the evening. We're going to play it, then we'll talk about it. Here it is, everybody. This is Greye, Famous Last Words.
Chance to speak. when it comes time, they're gonna ask you for your famous. Behind your eyes, there's something wise, something inspired, like nothing that hurt. You can't hide, 'cause when it comes time, they're gonna ask you for your famous. Lost, famous, lost, famous, lost.
And we're back, everybody. We're back. That was Famous Last Words. Greye is the name of the band. Let me ask you guys, these are all available, right? People can get these?
Oh, yes. Yes. It's all up on our website and on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all of the streaming doodads.
Yeah, we got the videos on YouTube.
Yep.
All the videos.
Very cool.
And then it comes to us at a show, and you can get his free CD.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, that is awesome. People always ask me, they're like, you know, you had a great band on. Where can I get their stuff? And I'm like, at a show. There's always a merch table. And the reason I know this, ladies and gentlemen, I told you, I hung out with musicians growing up. That's how I got to see a lot of shows. You know, and they'd be like, well, sweetheart, we need somebody to run the merch table.
Yeah.
You know, the bass player's gal ran off, so, you know, she couldn't handle him anymore. And somebody's got to sell these T-shirts. And I'm like, okay, that's your ticket. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And it used to be different, ladies and gentlemen. I remember getting handed stacks of flyers and a stapler. And my mission was to hit every telephone pole in town. It was way before Twitter or any of that.
Right. You talked
That's
about
amazing.
San Diego, Jamie, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. LA was like that, man.
Yeah.
I spent a long
Everybody.
South Cali, and it was just flyer central. They were piled up on the ground.
Absolutely. And this was, I remember in LA and whatnot, when I was out there, this was before crowdfunding. I raffled so many, I had so many paintings. This is what I do for my, you know, you support your friends and whatnot. I'm like, well, I haven't made $1 million yet, but I can paint you a painting. You can raffle off and raise money to get more studio time or whatever you got to do, you know?
Yeah.
And every weekend, somebody was doing that, you know? That's what you do with your friends, you know? You just, you know, what you do. Let me ask you guys, with Famous Last Words, it is available. One of the cool things, of course you prefer people to buy it direct from you if they can, right? As opposed to streaming sites. But if somebody's in Germany or something, they can't make it to a show, yeah, pick it up. That's awesome. My other advice, ladies and gentlemen, when you find a band that you think's just really cool, share that shit, man. All your friends, the reason you're friends is you guys have similar interests. If you're thinking something's cool, all your friends are going to think something's cool. Help get the word out. Put that shit in your, what do they call them, playlists and stuff.
Yes.
You know, that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Put it behind your TikTok video. Do whatever. Help get the more eyes and more ears on that band, that track, you know. Do what you can to help. You might be broke as a joke. We've all been there, but you can still help out. Sharing something that don't cost nothing. So,
Absolutely.
very, very cool. Let me ask you guys this. Now, as a cool band that plays out and stuff like that, that's got to be, is that just a whole other side of it, right? Because you got to figure out the stage setup and all of that, you know. Do you guys have a normal light person, or do the venues all kind of provide that?
It kind of depends on the venue.
I got you.
We have a sound guy that travels around with us.
That's cool to have. You're always going to sound good, you know.
Yeah. And it's been integral. I mean, because we've had a couple, and definitely not dissing on our first guy. He was lovely. But Ray, like that look on your face. No, he was great. He was great for the band that he met, the band that we were when he met us. But after you know, I don't know, we had him for a couple of years, and we just had evolved so much past that initial sound that he had known, and I think we just needed kind of a fresh new take on it, and that's been pivotal for us, having the right guy.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Ray, you had mentioned something in passing, and I made a mental note of it, but you had mentioned that you have a studio there, that you've built a studio.
Yeah,
Number one,
yeah.
engineering and studio work and all, that's hard. I watched all these videos about it during the pandemic, and I'm not even in the music business, but I found it fascinating. That's cool though. That is cool to have that in house.
Yeah, no, it definitely. We did the first 4 albums. No, 3. 3. We did the first 3 albums. Hey, I'm looking at them. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we did the first 4 albums here.
Yeah,
And,
because
and it came a point where, I mean, I had a commercial studio for about 25 years, and I just out on it, to be honest with you. And I didn't want to be the engineer, be the guy that tracks it, mixes it. And so now, the only thing we do here is all the vocals you hear, Hannah and I do here. They were all done here. And Hannah's the best when it comes to doing vocals. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of singers through the years, and Hannah's the best I've ever worked with. Even my jingle singers weren't like Hannah. She can just stack harmonies that like nobody, and be pitch perfect the whole time. And we do all the overdubs here. All the guitar overdubs are done here. All of the bass overdubs are done here. The only thing we really track in the studio is if there's a Hammond B3 we want to use there, and we do the drums, live. Went to Nashville, and we tracked this last record in Nashville. I think Famous Last Word was done in Orlando, right, Tommy? We did that in Orlando. And
yeah.
and I'll just, I'll pick the console that we want, whether it's a Neve or an SSL or an API, and I'll get the one that I think will work best for us, doing that. And so, and these guys, we had an album before we ever had a gig.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we had an album before we ever had a gig.
I don't love it. I kind of laugh a little bit. Man, I got a hair, something in my mouth.
Hey, you get that out.
Anyway, I know it's driving me crazy. I can't. Anyhow, new bands. There's this myth. There's an American. I don't know if it's just America, but there's definitely an American myth because they've seen all these movies, and they think that a band goes into the studio, lays around, eats pizza, and comes up with an idea for a song, and it may take 14 days. And when they realize that when you go in the studio, it's like riding in a cab. The meter is running.
Yeah.
The bill doesn't stop. And I always tell people that are starting out, I said, I'm not in the music business, but it would seem to me it would be a smart move to have as much set up before you hit the studio as you can, just to save time, and that's money. But you guys could do that. You guys could eat pizza in this. No, Ray probably doesn't allow any food in the studio, but
he's drinking a beer in this too.
No, never.
Yeah, he's drinking a beer in there.
But the thing about what you're saying with a lot of bands that don't know, I've sent bands home through the years. I said, you guys need to go home and rehearse. I'm just going to take your money. And so for us, by the time we go to the studio, we're well rehearsed. We go in there, we can lay all of the music down, and all pretty much the whole record. We can do it in 2 days.
Yeah.
We can do 10 songs in 2 days.
That's amazing.
It's in
With that rehearsal, we go in. We have to, because it's even with that efficiency. I mean, even doing as much as we can ourselves. By the time you get it mixed and mastered, I mean, it's $10,000 for a record minimum.
That's very true. You guys picked the expensive art. My shit's cheap. I just got to buy a canvas and some paint. I mean,
right.
Easy peasy.
We got $6,000.
You guys. Not only did you pick you got to look good and stuff, Nobody cares what the artist looks like. I look like a frog. It doesn't matter. They just care about the painting. I'm lazy. No, but Hannah, I'm so glad you reassured me, because I want to hear more. You guys have a big fan in me.
Thank you.
Is there new stuff in the pipe? You guys, can you say, or not right yet?
I've been working on some things.
Nice.
We've been We've been asking for months.
Listen, these things take time.
Hang on, I can't hear you. Now I can.
Well, I got Hannah's email now, so now she'll be getting emails from me. Hey, did you write a hit song yet? Did you write a hit song yet? How about today? Is today the day for the hit song?
Make sure to send all the demos your way.
It's really Jett is the magic right there. And then she comes back, and then Hannah just nails it. Yeah.
That's
we
right.
can't do anything without Jett.
The hair. It's the hair. I used to date a girl years ago, and she always had a thing with guys with long hair.
Got my glasses off. He looks like a girl.
And well, she would always say this. That was her whole thing. When she saw a guy out at a club or something, and he had long hair, her catchphrase was, "No, there's some hair I want to put in some hot rollers." And I don't know if it happened or not to some poor kid out there, but it probably did, knowing her.
Wow.
Anyhow. Well, I can't wait. And it's so cool that you guys are so close, too. You know, I'm going to be following all of your social media and everything. And look for me. I'm easy to spot in the crowd. We will definitely make our way up there.
Yeah, see you, man.
That'd be great.
I wish there were more rock venues. It's funny, too, because people always ask me, they're like, well, do you know, like, any venue? And I'm like, man, I haven't been out in the scene in 15 years. That's a century in club venue time. You know what I mean? Although I say that, and I can think of several clubs that have been going since like 1983, they just never stopped, but that's unusual. But it seems like you guys are doing real well, you know, and you're really good at what you do. If anybody ever wakes up and has one of those mornings, you know, where you're like, I don't know if I can do it today, do it because you're really good. Push yourself, you know, because you're really good. And we all want to hear more, you know, I mean, and that's good art to me.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Will do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I know you're a rock band. It's a Friday night. That's a rough night to get everybody organized. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having us. It was a blast.
Thank you.
Anytime. We will see you, and everybody out there who's listening and now watching, remember, it's still a weird world. Be cool, be kind, be patient with people. And if you're traveling on an airplane, leave the booze at home. Wait till you get to it. I think they're hilarious, but you don't want to be in a Karen video. Nobody wants that. And if the police get involved, you ain't going to win. I don't know why these people always think they can talk their way out of it. No, you're not going to. Anywho. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time.
You too.
Thank you.
This has been pop art painter Jamie Roxx's Pop Roxx Radio Talk Show. It has been executive produced by Jamie Roxx, recorded at his studio in Deerfield Beach in South Florida. All rights reserved by Pop Roxx Limited.
Hannah Oli, Pop Roxx Radio.
Estás escuchando Jamie Roxx de Pop Roxx Radio. Manténganse al tanto.
Hej, det här är Hicks från Sverige och ni lyssnar till Pop Roxx Radio med Jamie Roxx.